How's it going, guys? Cameron here with Canadian Gamer coming at you with another video. Hope you're all doing well. Been pretty busy today. I did spend a couple of hours fine-tuning, playing around with the settings on both my recently acquired Sony camcorder, which I have here. I wanted to talk about it for a few minutes. And also the more expensive Canon camcorder, which I'm shooting on here today. Now this camcorder, I've talked about it a little bit on the channel. It is 4K capable, albeit when you shoot in 4K, it only shoots at 30 FPS. You shoot at 1080p, then it bumps it up to 60 FPS, which we're rolling with right now. Now I played around with it today, made sure all the firmware settings were up to date, and then I tinkered around with some of the low light settings. So hopefully it looks a little bit better today, at least myself on camera as far as the lighting is concerned. I'm really excited to showcase some more footage with this camcorder. Now this is the HDR SR12 model. This was basically considered a Rolls-Royce camcorder when it came out about a decade ago, a little over a decade ago. Now what's really cool, today I purchased a couple of lenses for this camcorder. I picked up a wide angle lens and a telephoto lens as well. So the telephoto will give you greater zoom without having to rely on digital zoom, because digital zoom on the camcorder or even on your smartphone or even on your digital SLR will cause a lot of noise in your video as well as pixelation. So, you know, as far as the wide angle lens is concerned, it's not a fish eye lens, it's a wide angle. So, you know, as an example, if you're looking at this, I can see my hands here how big it is right now. If I put the wide angle lens on, it actually makes what you're seeing now is going to be even bigger, and you don't have to pan out or pan in to have any sort of and you don't have to pan out to get that wide angle. It just comes like that with the lens. There's a setting on the camera that adapts to the essentially an adapter, a lens you put on the front, and it gives you that wide angle shot. So I'm really excited to get that in the mail. Now today's main topic here, and again, I didn't have really a need to necessarily shoot a video. I just wanted to play around with the settings on the camera. But I did want to talk about emulation. Now, we've talked about it before on the channel, and I know this video is probably going to ruffle quite a few feathers. But hear me out on this. So if you play your games on an emulator, you know, whether it be on your smartphone or a modern TV, or maybe on your desktop or your laptop, or even maybe your Nintendo Switch or whatever platform you're using, you know, that's fine. If that's how you want to play your games, if you enjoy it that way, that's fine. But for me personally, I feel like, you know, most, maybe not all, but most that are playing on an emulator, they're just filthy casuals that want a piece of the action. So, you know, I understand not everyone can afford real hardware. Not everyone has the room for it, but you know, there are some out there that are greedy. You know, they have to fucking download every emulator under the sun and download the thousands and thousands and thousands upon thousands of ROMs and put them on an SD card and load them up onto their emulator and play it that way. You people should be fucking ashamed of yourselves, seriously. And I don't have to go in any further on why that is. So, recently I've been playing a little bit of emulation. A little bit. We're talking a select number of games, and I've been playing them on my desktop using a controller that's not an original Sega Genesis controller or a Super Nintendo controller. And most recently, I was playing Outrunners on the Sega Genesis. And man, does it ever suck sitting like this in front of a computer, playing these old games on a 1080p modern HP display is what I have. It's just, man, it robs the game of its experience as opposed to playing these older titles on a CRT. So those of you who have been watching the channel, you know I have a CRT, as you can see a little bit of footage here. And man, I've been playing on the CRT quite a bit the last couple of days. I was playing Pitfall, the Mayan Adventure. as well as a little bit more of Outrun and a few other games yesterday, having some fun with the CRT. And I have to tell you guys, and if you don't own a CRT, again, you may not fully understand, especially for the younger audience. Once you experience these games on a CRT with original hardware, it is next to impossible. It is next to impossible to go back to emulation on a modern display. Oh my fucking god. It's bad enough I have this older flat screen next to me, which you guys can't see here, a JVC, a real nice flat screen. But even still, I have my OG Xbox and my PS2 hooked up to it, and then I got my Wii U over there hooked up to a modern... The Wii U, I guess, is fine because that's HDMI, but sometimes I play the Wii games on it. But like even to play the original Xbox and the PS2 on a TV that is not a CRT, it robs it of the experience 100%. So I have been slowly sort of looking for a second CRT to probably replace this JVC, because it's really, like I said, it's affecting my ability to enjoy these older titles. You know, how awesome would it be? I was just talking about this with someone today, to be able to play a game like, you know, the original Resident Evil 4 like this, with proper 4:3 aspect ratio on a CRT in a dimly lit room with a nice set of earphones. And you know, that would be the ideal way to play this, would it not? Not on a fucking 16:9 flat screen, that's for damn sure. So, yeah, the whole fucking emulation, a lot of the gamers out there, it's like they've showed up at a Chinese buffet, you know, and they want to have a little taste of everything, but they don't want to sit down and enjoy one thing. You know, they download an emulator, and then they download a rash of games, and they dip their toe in the water. Oh, this game's okay. Oh, let me move on to the next game, the next game, the next game, the next game. And they never really commit to any of the games they're playing for the most part. Not everybody. But that's the whole idea with these mini consoles. It's a buffet, you know? It's for the filthy casual. That's exactly what it is. And that's why I don't touch these mini consoles. I have them, but I don't really touch them. You know, again, I can't stand the way these old games look on modern displays. I can't fucking stand it. You know, it's kind of like the FPGA consoles. They're okay, you know, fine, whatever. You know, this is obviously really good, right? You know, same with the analog Mega SG or the Super NT. You know, that's great. But I find a hard time wrapping my head around why you would want to play these games on these super sharp displays when you could play them on original hardware. So yeah, like, you know, this is awesome. Don't get me wrong. It is really awesome. It is. But part of me thinks it would be more awesome to have a Game Boy Advance, you know, the original model, the bigger model, and just getting a screen replacement that gives you a better backlight and playing it that way. I don't know. Once you experience like the scan lines and the taste of the original hardware and the original controller in your hand, and the CRT plays a huge part of it. And you know, there's a lot of gamers out there, and they use the whole excuse, well, I don't have room for a CRT. Well, that's bullshit, because my CRT is like 12 inches. Like, it's not a big CRT. It's really not. But once you're sitting right in front of it, your eyes adjust to the display, and it's just as good as if you had a big TV. Okay, you don't need to have a honking 300-pound CRT. Get yourself a nice small one, and it will do you a world of good. But yeah, I just wanted to sort of get this off my chest, because, you know, the more and more I sit in front of my computer with this cheesy ass fake Super Nintendo USB controller that I have, and I play these old games through emulation on my LCD flat screen monitor, it just robs these games of the experience, and I just feel absolutely filthy, like I want to take a bath after playing these games this way. It's just, it's nasty. It's absolutely disgusting. So, you know, if you got yourself one of those misters, and then you played emulation, but you somehow, because people are telling me you can hook up a mister to a CRT, I guess that would be your workaround for that, right? But even still, it's not as good as having original hardware and having that original cart in your hand. Now, I can warm up to the idea of having an EverDrive, okay, and loading the ROM files onto the EverDrive and playing that on my Genesis. I can warm up to that idea, but as far as emulation is concerned, with the exception of a few titles that I'll continue to play on my PC because I don't yet have a physical copy on my Genesis, that's about as far as I go with that. I'm not going to start downloading ISO files for the PS1 and the Dreamcast, N64, Saturn, PlayStation 2. No, I'm sorry. I'm not that hard up. If I really want to play most of these games, I'm sorry, and I'm sorry if you take offense to this, but no, I'll just go out and buy it like a real man. I'm not going to sit there and emulate these games on my fucking computer. No way, I'm not that hard up. It's like, it reminds me of like, and again, if you're from the younger generation, you wouldn't really recall this, but like in the late 80s, Pontiac, which was a division of General Motors, they released a mid-engine sports car called the Fiero, a really cheap-ass sports car. It was a two-seater, 2+2 sorry. And what happened was, towards the late 80s, early 90s, a lot of car enthusiasts, you could buy kit conversions that would convert your Fiero into a Lamborghini Countach. Now, I saw one. I took a picture of it a number of years ago. It was a white one in Ottawa. And at first glance, it looked like a legitimate Countach. It looked real. It was amazing. Until I got up close and I started to pick out the differences. Like the wheels weren't obviously the original Lamborghini Countach wheels. And then you looked into the car and you saw the interior and you're like, oh my God. And that's saying a lot because the interior of those Countaches weren't exactly, interior of a Rolls Royce. But yeah, so what you had there was you had a filthy casual or a poser that couldn't afford a real Countach, so they would take a Fiero and convert it into a Lamborghini Countach. So it looked the part until you got behind the wheel and started driving it, and you're like, oh my fucking God. Well, the same goes for emulation. You can't convince me otherwise. And if you're going to argue with me in the comments below, go ahead. But no. There's no substitute for the real thing. So that goes for Lamborghini Countach. And that goes for OG hardware as well. Okay? So if you guys out there are emulating and you don't have the original games and or hardware, you do yourself a favor and go buy the real thing. Okay? Because you're robbing yourself of the experience. So that's all I wanted to sort of get off my chest. I know a lot of you man babies will probably get triggered over this, but hey, I'd rather be true to myself and be honest with my opinions than gloss over and sugarcoat things. And I get it. The big factor for a lot of people is affordability, and a lot of these games are super, super, super expensive. But at the very least, you don't have to go out and buy all the OG carts. Just get the original hardware. Get yourself a CRT and get yourself an EverDrive and call it a day, okay? Stop it with the emulation. Stop, okay? Just stop. So that's going to do it for me. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week. I'll be back with something a little bit later. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.